Hello, hello, hello. Hi. How are you? How are you doing this evening or evening? Good afternoon. Good afternoon. How are you? Happy New Year again. We are in January. It is 2023. I don't know about you, but I can't believe it. I don't know how we got here this quickly, everybody. Like, I feel like it was just 2022, just yesterday. How were we in 2023 already? I don't know, but we're here. We're here. It's a new year, it's a new you. And guess what? A new marriage. And, and a part of that new marriage could be a new sex life. And that's what we're here to talk about today. Every single year, millions, billions of Americans and non Americans set out to create these New Year's resolutions. I know you've heard it. I know you have. And you probably have done so yourself. You set out to create these new resolutions. You said you're going to eat better, you're going to work out more, you're going to get in the gym, you're going to be nicer, you're going to get closer to God, you're going to be a better employee, a better family member, a better friend. You're going to do all of these things, right? We set out to create all of these goals. And so, why not include sex in your list of goals? Why not? Why not? So again, that is exactly what we will be talking about today, is how we're going to create new goals for our sex lives. And I just want to say, shout out where you are streaming from. Good afternoon. Hello, Shalise. Hello. It looks like LaKeesha. And hey, my girl, Lindsay, how are you? And anybody else who hasn't jumped in and said hello, hello to you as well. And as I said, let me know where you're streaming from. And also, I told you guys, give me feedback about this new time slot. Are you feeling the 12 o'clock in the afternoon, or you want me to go back to the dungeon? You want me to go back to after hours? Let me know. I need to know. All right. So, anyway, okay, good, Laquita. I see you. You're in Tampa. Well, hello. So am I. So am I. Well, I am so happy that you are here, sis, and everybody else who's here and who's watching. But let's go ahead. Let's jump right in, because I really want to help you guys out and give you some ideas for how you can create some new sex solutions, right? For yourself, for your relationship. And so we can spice it up in the bedroom. That's ultimately what we're trying to do, right? So, the first thing that I want to talk to you guys about is creating a new monogamy agreement. If you have experienced infidelity in your relationship, we want to make sure that you guys are on the same page and that you have a level of understanding which will create more of that comfortability and more of that willingness to create these sex goals. So, we first things first, right? And so I said, if there has been any infidelity, you definitely want to make sure that you have this in place. So I kind of talked about this last week with the 3 stages of erotic recovery. And stage 3 was the vision phase. And what we were talking about there is your recovery, right? It is so important that you recover from infidelity before you begin to dive head first into trying to restore your marital sexual situation, right? We want to work on the marital issues, and then we want to focus on the sexual issues. Now, does that mean we can't do it simultaneously? Of course we can, but there needs to be more of a focus and emphasis onto the marital issues, okay, versus the sexual part of it, because the marital issues most often are the reason why you're having sexual issues in the first place, right? And that's not to say there aren't other things, but I'm just saying that a lot of times we don't want to focus on what the real problems are and jump right into sex. And so we have to make sure we keep first things first. All right. So I talked about the monogamy agreement, not going to go into details about that, but just overall, what it is that you're trying to decide and negotiate what your new monogamy will look like in your relationship, right? Which is including your new erotic life that is hopefully satisfying to both of you. One of the things that I hear most often when I'm working with couples is that one person is feeling satisfied and the other person is not satisfied. One person is fulfilled and the other person is not. So we want to get that closer in alignment. All right. So we can't ignore this erotic part of our relationship, and we just can't do that. Right. We do have to focus on getting along and avoiding conflict and having conversations so that we're not feeling like we're in this roommate space, because you want to feel in love. You want to be in love with your partner. But if you don't focus on getting along, focus on avoiding a conflict, then eventually you'll feel dissatisfied and you'll be frustrated. All right. So through that erotic connection, you're going to find that in love feeling again. And so it's so important, again, that we get back to that in love feeling. And one of the first things we do is, of course, deal with the infidelity. If there's been betrayal, deal with any trust issues, anything that may be prohibiting you from being completely open with your partner. That's what you want to focus on first. Okay. And then again, if there has been infidelity, then as I said, we're going to focus on creating a monogamy agreement. And so to learn more about that, you want to hear more about that, you can watch last week's episode because I really broke down monogamy agreement. So you definitely can go back and take a look at that. All right. But that's extremely important. So we're laying a solid, healthy foundation. All right. Next thing you want to do is focus more on intimacy and less on sex. This should be a sex solution for 2023. That is so important because one of the things that I think happens really, really often is that, like I said, we're so focused on sexual pleasure. And there's nothing wrong with being focused on sexual pleasure. That's not what I'm talking about, okay? But I am talking about what happens when we ignore the relational issues. We cannot continue to do that. Many, many times when I am working with couples, as I said, and there's an issue in the bedroom, it's because there is a need for intimacy. There is a deeper need for intimacy. So we want to stop focusing so much on the sex. And if we want to truly accelerate our sex lives, then we have to stop making sex the goal and focus on building intimacy. We need to agree that we will go for a certain period of time without having sex, because when we put so much pressure on the sex, then now we're busy focusing on that instead of our connection. And isn't that why we're having sex in the first place? Because we want it to be pleasurable, we want to connect, we want to have a deeper experience with our partners. And if that is the case, then you got to focus on all of the things that's going on outside the bedroom and get that right before you even enter the bedroom. So while you're taking a sex break, make time every day for cuddling, for kissing, for hand holding. And I think, we underestimate the power of kissing. That may be in the next show. Maybe I'll talk about kissing. What do you think about that? But I think we underestimate the power of that, and we overlook it and we dismiss it and we don't do it enough. I don't think we're kissing enough. And it may seem like a minimal thing, but it is a wonderful way to build intimacy in your relationship. And so when you're doing that, you just kiss and you're hugging and you're holding hands and you're just being affectionate with one another without the pressure of having sex, then it really just reinforces the bond that you have, the idea that you're safe and that you're being affectionate because you want to and not because you're trying to have sex. All right. So it creates physical affection in a relationship. And that's awesome. And we need that. We totally need that. So we want to focus more on intimacy and less on sex. Now, do not go back to your partner or your spouse and misquote me. Do not go back to your partner or spouse and say, LaKeesha said we need to take a sex break. That is not what I said. I said that we need to focus more on intimacy. If this is a struggle in your relationship and you are having a problem where you're not having enough intimacy, then I'm saying that it may be beneficial to pick a certain amount of time. We're going to go, we're not going to have sex, and we're just going to focus on intimacy. Look, that could be a week. That could be 2 days. It could be 2 weeks. It depends on how often you're having sex. If you're a couple who's having sex literally 7 days a week, then maybe your sex break is like 4 days. We're going to take 4 days. We're not going to have sex and we're just going to focus on building our intimacy. Okay. So don't take what I'm saying out of context and go back to your significant other and tell them, I said you need to take a sex break and just leave it at that because you want a break. No, you be intentional. You have purpose for why you're taking a break. Okay. So I just want to be clear because I know how y'all do. I know how you do. All right. Next, connect more, chase less. What is she talking about? Chase less. All right. So one of you wants sex, the other person doesn't, or at least they're not coming off like they want to. All right. And it happens where, one partner wants sex and it isn't even about the desire for pleasure. A lot of times it's about the need for intimacy. They want to connect. But what are they doing? Asking for sex. They want the connection, they want the acceptance, they want to feel wanted, but it can feel really disheartening when your partner continues to say no or deny sex or reject sex. This is what we have to figure out though. Why are they saying no? Are they saying no to just sex or are they saying no to me and all of me? Because sometimes when the answer is no, when sex is requested, we assume that it's about attraction. Sometimes it is that, but a lot of times it's not. Maybe they're just overwhelmed and they have other things on their mind and sex is just not the focus right now. So it's not always the case that they're saying no because they're not attracted. It could be that they're stressed out. It could be that they're exhausted. It could be that they're not interested in that moment. Right. And if that happens, then we can get into chasing and pressuring our spouses or partners to have sex. And so, if your relationship is lacking sex, the worst thing you can do is to chase and put pressure on them because that increases their stress level and literally causes them to slam the brakes on sex. And that is not what we want. That's counterproductive. All right. So, we want to avoid chasing them for sex, but we definitely want to connect more versus chasing. Connect more, chase less. All right. So, next point, we want to set more time aside for sex in 2023. Now, mind you, this is all contingent upon you doing the work that you need to do to make sure that you have that connection and that level of intimacy, and there's trust, and there's vulnerability, and there's openness, and there's honesty. You have all of this stuff that you've worked on, right? And you and your partner or spouse are on the same page where, yes, we want more sex. You got to set time aside for it. I know it's not sexy. I know scheduling it. I know. But you have to if you are having difficulty with connecting with your partner. Like you have to make time. So that usual excuse of being busy was old news. That was 2022. Okay. It's a new you this year. And we're going to have a new relationship and a better, healthier sex life. So we can't use that excuse of being busy anymore. We got to avoid that in 2023 because no matter how busy you are, you have to make time to connect physically with your spouse. The more sex you have, the better you get at it. And you don't want it to become dull and boring. There are so many studies that have been out there that say that having sex keeps a personal um, level of happiness and less stress in the individual person and ultimately in the relationship. So if your schedule has been so busy that it has stopped you from having sex last year, you make sure that this year there's no death of sex in your life. All right. And that we are scheduling if we need to, but we are making time. We're carving out time to connect. All right. So we will take a quick break. We will come back. I will give you the rest of these tips because I'm trying to make sure your sex solutions are on point. So do not go anywhere. We'll be right back.
We're really excited about Foundation. It is a new group program where couples are gathering from all around the world twice a week, couples who just want to have a thriving, successful, amazing marriage. No really well-built house is built without a foundation. As a matter of fact, without a foundation, it can't stand. It would just crumble right into the ground. We are going to interview experts and other successful couples so that you can get a glimpse into the lives of other people who are doing what it is that you desire to do, who have and who are accomplishing what it is that you want to accomplish. And we also have over 500 videos available for you to watch of all of our teaching. Everything that we've ever done, every topic that we've ever covered will be accessible to you.
So guys, if this sounds exciting to you and if this sounds like something you've been waiting for, go ahead and just give it a try. We're literally giving away a 15-day trial for $1. And then after that, it's simply $3 a day. And so is your marriage worth it? Is your future worth it? Join the community today. Just click that button and meet us on the other side.
Hello, hello. Welcome back. Welcome back. We are discussing sex solutions. Everybody can come up with these New Year's resolutions, right? But we're coming up with some New Year's sex solutions for our marriages, for our relationships. And we are on to the next point. Let me tell you, I I just was looking in the comments and Tiffany, you crack me up. I understand, my dear. I feel your pain. Literally, she says, I love sex, but where's your comment? Where's your comment? She says, I love sex, but good Lord, my cookie can only take so much, sir. Amen. I'm sure there's some other women out here who completely connect, understand, agree, that resonates with them. So we do have to have some balance, okay? And that happens often with couples where we have desire discrepancy, or we just have one that has a higher sex drive and the other one has a lower sex drive, or you're just not right on the same page. That happens very, very often, and I don't know if that's what you're saying, but I do hear you saying that yes, everybody needs a break at some point, but just make sure that you don't go back to your spouse saying that I said that you need to take a sex break, because that is not what I said, my sister. All right. So on to our next point. Learn more about your body. In 2023, I'm challenging you all to make that your one of your sex solutions, right? To learn more about your body. This is so important because, there are many times where, again, talking with couples and they're having issues in the bedroom. And one of the reasons why is because the spouse doesn't know how to please their spouse. And many times they get discouraged and they'll just quit and they stop trying. But here's the thing, like, it's the individual's job to be able to articulate what it is that they like and what they want and what they don't like and what they don't want. So here's the thing, if you don't know yourself, how are you going to teach your spouse, or how are you going to explain it to them or break it down to them? So you have to learn your own body. You need to know what positions work for you, what positions don't work for you, because depending on how your inside parts are set up and how your spouse's outside parts are set up, when the outside meets the inside, sometimes you need to shift positions in order to control the level of pleasure that you experience. And so sometimes, it's literally just about putting a pillow underneath you, or using a wedge, or again just trying a different position to increase your pleasure. But you don't know that if you don't know your body. So you definitely have to get to know your body. One of the things I'm going to talk to you guys about next time, because we won't have time to cover it today, I don't think, is about just how you handle like your post performance. Okay, that's really important, because that affects how you enjoy or do not enjoy the after effects of sex. And you want to be experiencing pleasure leading up to, during, and post. All right, so we will talk a little bit about that as well. But again, it's so important that you learn your body and you know what feels good to you and what doesn't feel good to you, so that you can articulate that to your partner, and you can make sure that they are on the same page with you, where it's like, hey, I know you like this particular position, but I don't, or you like this thing but I don't, and vice versa. And making sure you guys are having that conversation. Everything that I talk about on this show as it pertains to sex always comes back to communication. You have to communicate, for sure. There is no getting around it, which leads me to the next point. You must talk more about sex. I don't know why. I don't know why people don't want to talk about sex. I don't. You're doing it. Why you don't want to talk about it? And on the flip side, if you're not doing it, then you definitely need to be talking, because we need to understand why you're not doing it. Sex is no longer considered taboo. At one point it was, just not now. So, there are people who just literally still shy away from talking about sex, and you shouldn't. You have to increase your knowledge. That is extremely important. You have to share whatever knowledge you have, and whatever it is that, your spouse can teach you. Be open. Be open to learning. And you have to be free to talk about sex with your partner. Try not to shy away from it. Talk freely about your needs and wants. And if you are really struggling in this area with how you're going to be able to communicate, how can I express to my partner that I don't like this, or I don't like that, or I'm not being satisfied, I'm not being pleased, and you feel like you need a mediator, you need a third party, you need a neutral party, this is what I'm here for. This is 100% what I am here for. And you need to reach out for support. Make that discovery call and get the help that you need. There is no reason why you should be going into 2023 with unsatisfied needs. No unsatisfied needs in 2023. That is the campaign slogan, okay? As we are working through these sex solutions, no unmet needs in 2023. I need you to tweet that, okay? I need you to post that in the chat, so that the people who come back later on, that they see it. No unmet needs in 2023. That is the goal. That's what we're striving for. That's the sex solution right there. And so, how do you have unmet needs? Well, you have to talk about what the needs are. You have to discuss them. And you have to share those things with each other. Because if you don't, how are they going to know? And I say this all the time. You cannot hold someone accountable to something that they never knew was an expectation. And how do they know what the expectations are? They have to be told. You have to share them. And if you are struggling with, being able to be open and free to share exactly what you're thinking and feeling, what you want, what you don't want, what you like, what you don't like, we got to explore that and get to the root of the why. A lot of times it's because it was received negatively in the past. And so if that is the case, then we need to explore, okay, is it the way that you're communicating what it is that you're saying? Or is it on the receiving end? Is it the way that your spouse or your partner is receiving what you're saying? Because you could be saying it perfectly fine, but they're hearing it different or they're receiving it differently. And so we got to explore that. Is it the delivery or is it the receipt of what it is that's being said? Sometimes it's the timing. That's another thing too. Sometimes we choose an inopportune time to have a conversation with our partner or our spouse about sex. I can tell you that the worst possible time on the planet is during sex. That's not the time to say, hey, you know, every time you do this particular thing, I really don't like it. I haven't liked it. I never liked it, but I just hadn't said anything to you. So, you mind maybe stopping that? Like, that's probably not the best time to communicate it, right? You may want to just kind of, for this last time, just kind of muscle through, as long as you're not in pain, right? And it's not hurting you and it's not going against your morals, values, ethics, standards, right? You might want to muscle through this time. And then after it's over, right? Not when you're in that post moment where everybody hopefully is feeling really good because there's been a release of some sort. That's not the time. You want to be fully clothed, okay? Fully dressed. Or at least maybe it's the next morning, but not in the midst of. You never want to take away from the moment, but you definitely need to make sure that you're expressing it. So again, timing is everything. And you guys know each other, right? You've been married, you've been together a long time, you know each other. You know if your partner can handle it right after, or if you need to give it 24 hours before you have that conversation. But the most important thing is to make sure that you are communicating and you're letting them know if something is going on that you are dissatisfied with and that, doesn't feel good to you or it's not pleasurable for you. Let's stop the lies in 2023. Let's tell the truth in 2023. Let's let each other know the things that we've been afraid to communicate. That's the only way it's going to get better. If you guys are open and honest with each other, have an open, honest dialogue with each other about what your needs are. And a lot of times you don't because you're afraid of being judged. You're afraid that they're going to look at you funny because you share this particular fantasy that you have, right? You share this fantasy that you have with them and you think they're going to judge me, they're going to look at me different, they're going to think I'm a freak, they're going to think I'm nasty or whatever the case may be. But you got to be able to have these intimate conversations. You are doing the most intimate thing ever when you engage in sexual activity with your partner or your spouse. That's the most intimate, most vulnerable you can possibly be. So why are we not sharing those deep, intimate things that we need to share with each other? You have to. Otherwise, it's like sleeping with a stranger. And who wants to do that? Nobody wants to be sleeping with a stranger. This is the person that you committed to. This is the person that you lay with every single night. You're laying next to every single night. And you want to make sure that you know that person inside and out, not just physically, but emotionally, mentally, spiritually, connecting in those 3 areas. I already told you that's what makes the physical explosive. So if we're disconnected mentally, disconnected emotionally, disconnected spiritually, we will automatically be disconnected physically. And it's not going to be the best sex you can be experiencing. You're missing out on the fullness of what God intended for you to have. He intended for sex to be pleasurable. So the way that we do that is by making sure that we're connected in all 3 of those areas, which will ultimately impact what happens in the bedroom. All right. So I want to shout out Kenny. Thank you for posting in the chat. Kenny said, I want you to walk away, guys, with this: no unmet needs in 2023. All right. I want you guys to walk away with that. Keep that in mind. If you don't remember anything else that I said, remember that we're going to be discussing what those needs are. But make sure that you're dealing with all the other areas in your relationship before you hone in on what's going on sexually. All right. You want to make sure you're creating a safe space for both parties so that you can be free and open to explore in the way that you desire. All right. So I want to thank you guys for tuning in. I want to thank you for watching. Like I said, let me know how you feel about this 12 p.m. time. Nobody's saying anything. I need you to let me know. But I want to say thank you so much for watching today. And we will continue this conversation next week. You guys enjoy the rest of your day, the rest of your week. And I will see you on the other side. Have a good one, guys. Bye.